Hey, what's up, guys? So, you ever wake up and you're like, so I really wish that I had a way to like show the words that I'm saying as I'm speaking to somebody across my face for all the people who just like aren't actively listening to me. Yeah? Yeah? Well, good. Because that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing on this fine day. And if you stick around to the end, there might be a fun, silly little surprise with the glasses. But yeah. Anyways, so getting started with this, I had no idea what materials I needed to order. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know what I was doing like at all. Like me looking here, I finally got the stuff in the mail and I picked up the aluminum. This aluminum. And I'm like, this is a weapon. This is an eighth of an inch thick, it's a sheet of aluminum. What am I supposed to do with this? How am I gonna like do anything with this? Because I don't have like machining tools, right? So yeah, this is one of the many things I ordered, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm figuring it out. So to start off, you gotta make a little template. You know, we make this silly little template based on some random trash sunglasses I have lying around. I think they're like Tito's vodka branded or something. I don't even know where I got them, but to make this little metal template so I know what to cut with the jigsaw, right? Let me tell you, cutting with this jigsaw, probably one of the dumbest ways to do this, but I don't really have like a band saw lying around, which I feel like is probably the right way to do it. But also, I don't even know if that's a good way to cut an 1/8 inch thick piece of aluminum, because the jigsaw is definitely not it. This was so sketchy. This was beyond sketchy. Like, you'll see in a second here, my hands get pretty darn close to where the blade is, and keep that in the back of your head for a second here. You're gonna see something a little silly happening. But like, look at that hand. That might be just a little too close for comfort when you consider. Yep, and it's even closer. But yeah, I mean, this cutting of the aluminum took probably 8 years. I mean, this was the worst way to do it, but you know what? It got the job done, and like, I mean, if I did it again, I'd probably do it this exact same way, because I still don't have a bandsaw. I've still got the jigsaw though. So like, it works. But you're seeing all this aluminum dust flying. Some of those shards hurt, man. This is like definitely a glove project, but I didn't want gloves near the blade, right? But look at what happens right here. Yeah, it jumped right at my hand. You could barely not see it in the frame. My hand is literally like right where the blade landed. I pulled my hand out of the way so fast and just like walked away. It was like, yeah, maybe we're not doing that right now. But I came back like 5 minutes later and finished cutting it, because I mean, I was already like a quarter of the way through. What was I gonna do? Not finish cutting the aluminum? It needed to happen. But yeah. So it's just more aluminum cutting. Let me tell you something though. This is hashtag not sponsored. What do you guys know about these sumo oranges, man? Because let me tell you, these things are crazy. I have been eating so many of these sumo oranges because they're so good and they're back in season, and they got them at like Costco and Sam's now apparently. And it's always a good day when the sumo oranges are back, because I love having fruit with my breakfast, and I feel like one orange is like the perfect amount of orange to have with the breakfast. And they're so good. They're so good, and they got these like little handles on them basically with the little things, so you don't even have to worry about like how you peel it. Because I feel like this might be just like a me being worse problem, but I don't know what the problem is with me not being able to peel a freaking orange. But I always end up having to like use my teeth to start it, because my nails are never long enough, and I'm not gonna like bust out the pocket knife to cut an orange open. That's stupid. But I also feel like the teeth thing is kind of stupid, because if I'm anywhere that's not my house and then I start doing it with my teeth, I get just like infinite weird looks, because I mean, what's this guy doing eating an orange peel with his orange? That's kind of weird. But I'm not eating the orange peel. I just need to start the peel, man. I'm not eating it like an apple. But yeah, sumo oranges, you should try them if you haven't. It's pretty good. But yeah, anyways, I'm starting to erase those Sharpie marks I made earlier, because I realized I'm probably not going to be able to do it later. And also, I just accidentally rubbed them with my hand and it was just coming off. So I was like, oh, I'll probably take it off with a paper towel. And you know what? It works. And now I'm trying to figure out how I'm bending these stupid frames into place, because you would think it would just bend. However, we're back to the 1/8 inch thick piece of aluminum, and that's not bending. Just like with my hands, it's not happening. So I'm trying to like almost score it here, or just like do literally anything to put an indent into it so that I can bend it around this pole, right? All of those things just don't work. Like, it's just bouncing. There's no way to hold it. I think maybe if I clamped it here, it might have worked, but I don't know. Best thing I could come up with was the vise. However, the vise is not attached to anything, so now we're clamping it to this really janky, broken wooden table, and gonna just see if I can bend the frames into place, which goes, I mean, not like the worst thing ever, but it wasn't amazing. But like, I was a little worried I was gonna like scratch up the metal with the vise jaws. Is that the right word? I don't know. But I ended up just really not worrying about it because I just wanted the stupid thing to be bent. This clip here is me like 2 hours into trying to figure out how to bend it. It just wasn't happening. So then I'm like, oh, maybe just like pushing on it some more is going to do something. And then I'm like, oh, it's still not doing it. So I'm like, what if I pick up the fire? Except I don't have a torch. It's aluminum. So I'm like, if I used an actual torch, I'm probably going to melt the aluminum, like, quite frankly, before there's no shot I get it to the right temp heat to make it like malleable without some real way of doing it. And yeah, the lighter doesn't do shit, by the way. It kind of like changed the surface finish a little bit, but it didn't let me bend it. That was just a complete waste of time. So now I'm trying to score it again, except this time like properly score it with a saw and go for like a silly little bend, right? Based off the scoring. Cause maybe I just need to like relieve some of the thickness of the aluminum just a bit so that I can get this nice bend in there. And now I'm thinking about the jaws, scratching it up again, and I'm like, oh, let me just put a couple wood blocks in there, right? That made it quite a bit more difficult, low key, but it's kind of working, and it starts working, and I'm like hyped. I'm like, oh shit, it's bending. Look at that bend. But then it's bending, and it's bending, and then guess what happens? Oh, god damn it. Fuck. Fucking hell. So, if you have any sort of brain, you probably would have figured out that I was going to break that based on how much force I was putting on there. But I really wanted it to bend, and I thought maybe there was a chance it wasn't going to break. So I did it again to the other side. Because, I mean, one side's already broken. Might as well break the other side. Yeah, it was somehow worse the second time around. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, what did I just do? Fuck. Fuck. How did I make that worse? So basically what happened is the wood blocks, the aluminum broke the wood blocks. I didn't realize it. And it broke further in than I meant it to. So now I'm about to have glasses in 3 pieces. Yeah. That wasn't supposed to break. Fuck. But I didn't realize any of that before I went to do that last break, so it just kind of all fell apart. But it's okay, because I came up with this fun little way to attach it all back together with copper and VHB tape, because I didn't really feel like trying to figure out how to weld aluminum. And quite frankly, I didn't want to have to get all the welding stuff out just for it to not work. But probably should have just welded it. But also, this looked cool. Like, look at this cool, like, copper. I don't even know what this is for, but it's like a cool piece of copper, right? Like, that's kind of cool. And then I figured out that I could like clean it up with this maroon pad. Goes kind of hard, and it made it look like all nice and shiny, because I was kind of annoyed that it was gonna look like it had been sitting in the dirt for years, because I mean the aluminum is all nice and shiny. But then I got the copper all nice and shiny, and then I even came up with a nice little way to flatten it out using the vice again, which is pretty baller. Look at that comparison shot. But yeah, now we're back to how the hell do I bend something? Which the table was not working. Not that the shitty wooden table really would have worked ever. But the Vice is back. Back to the rescue. Man. Also, I kind of forgot about the jaws again. Luckily, it didn't really matter because the side that it was grabbing was going, like, gonna have VHB tape on it. The side that it, like, really scratched up. Not that it wasn't grabbing both sides, I guess, but... Anyways, here's me putting some VHB tape on this Jonathan. Going crazy with the tape. But now I've got to somehow cut out the like acrylic part of this visor from this big sheet of acrylic. And honestly, when I got the acrylic, my thought was, oh, I'll just use the jigsaw. But by this point, after almost like gouging my hand open with the jigsaw, I was not really wanting to use the jigsaw that much. So I was like, you know what? What if I tried not doing that? So I was like, maybe I can just break it into pieces if I score it with an X-Acto knife, because like that's a thing. People cut acrylic with like a glass cutting knife. I didn't have a glass cutting knife, but I had an X-Acto knife. So I was like, oh, I'll give that a shot, right? What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't break. It didn't break, just like at all. It just didn't work. But the scoring line was pretty nice, I gotta say, because it made it to where when I came back with the proper saw for the actual cutting of the acrylic, it provided a nice little guideline. So I didn't have to really think about it all that much. I just had to go at it with this handsaw, which took forever. Because like this is me doing it real time right here. You're about to get the time lapse TM because this took actually 8 years to do. I would definitely use the jigsaw for this if I did this again, but I really was kind of scared of both the jigsaw and also shattering the acrylic because I only had so much and didn't really want to have to order more. Although now I've got this like giant sheet of acrylic that I have no idea what to do with because I got this pretty much first try. But man, I don't even know. Who knows, man. But let me tell you, this saw went crazy. This is like the most clutch tool in this entire build is this stupid little saw because it's put in just so much work in this acrylic, man. But once again, all these cuts could never be made perfectly, right? You're like, surely there's going to be some issues in the cutting. And I thought maybe like around the nose area, it would be kind of hard because it's kind of small. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to make those angles and the turns. So I got to do it. And then this is what happens. It just broke. Man, I was literally thinking, wouldn't it suck if that cracked right now? And then it fucking cracked. God damn it. Yeah, I just kind of rolled with it. I didn't really want to cut all that out again with the saw. Low key, if I probably should have just gone back and did a second one with the jigsaw, but when I was like drawing the stencil for it in the first place, I really don't know how I like pulled that off for the first time, and I didn't want to figure it out again. And I guess I could have just like traced the broken pieces and then gone for that, but I thought maybe the crack could look cool, give it a little bit of character. It's already got character with the stupid copper thing, so might as well lead into it, I guess. But yeah, I attached the acrylic to the frames with more VHB tape. This is why I had the VHB tape, was for this exact purpose. And it actually worked pretty well. It doesn't move around all that much. It's just like chilling. Like, look at that. Look at that acrylic on those frames.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, honestly, it could be worse.
So true. But yeah. And now I got some sheets of rubber too, so that I could put like padding on the parts that actually touch my face, which ended up not really mattering in the end. You'll see why. But this is me putting on a couple of those rubber pads with once again with the VHB tape, because the VHB tape is goated. But Just somewhere you would rest your nose on the frame and where your ears touch the frame. Also to like level it because the frame was not evenly cut, so it was like crazy skewed on my face. But yeah, so that's basically the whole glass is being built, and now we got the electronics, which this part gave me so much grief, man. This was one of the most painful things ever. This part, the testing of the LEDs, pretty straightforward, if just a little annoying, because I think I set up this silly little circuit here with just some like, it's just basically just like a resistive little network, right? Just so I can power an LED without burning it from my little D battery there, right? Well, there's 150 LEDs in that package I ordered, and that's a lot of LEDs to test one by hand. But it made this like this cool little shot though. Like, look at all these LEDs. They come on this like loop of cardboard. That's how many I ordered. They don't just like send me a couple of them. They give me the whole sheet. But look, this is kind of a cool shot though. Look at this shot. Like, watch this once it starts lighting up. It goes kind of hard. Maybe. No, hang on. There it is. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. I did not record all of them though, because this probably took me like 30 minutes. This was not a quick thing, because they're like, if you look on the left there, they're like taped on there. So if the tape was like stuck, it was not happening. But now I need to figure out, all the LEDs worked. Now I need to figure out how I'm assembling the LED matrix to put in this glasses so I can light up like the words, right? So I was going to do it in cardboard, which is what you're seeing me do here, is I'm making the grid because I can drive like a 16:9 matrix, right? With the stuff I got. And so this is me with the X-Acto knife making the holes in the cardboard so that I can stick the LEDs in there so that I can like fold the pins over, line them up, solder them together, all that jazz, right? Well, so I go to start putting some in there and they don't stay. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I need bigger holes. Let me use the drill. Yeah, let me use the drill on cardboard. That went about as well as you would expect. Like, you can see it right there. That's not going to work. And I'm not going to be able to do a whole grid. The cardboard's just going to disintegrate. It like already is. So I pivot and start making the grid on some random board, a little piece of wood, because the wood is not going to disintegrate on me, and I'm going to be able to drill the holes in the wood, and it's going to stay together. And this worked much better. The cardboard went in the trash after that, but here's me with just a silly little punching out some of the holes. So I was a little scared that if I didn't use a punch on the wood and I just went straight to the drill, that I was going to get like 70% of the way through and then the drill was going to slide on me and just fuck up the whole grid. So I went through and punched every single hole first and then drilled it, which I honestly probably could have just done with the drill bit, but I mean, this is a cooler shot, isn't it? Man. Also, if you notice here, I tried to maximize the grid with like as many holes as I could fit on there in the like shape of the acrylic, but I ended up scrapping a bunch of them and made it because it wasn't symmetrical. And I had a feeling that was going to bother me if the lights inside of there, if there were more of them, but they weren't symmetrical. And I think I'm right. You'll see why later. Yeah, I think it looks a lot better symmetrical, but you're going to see some LEDs in this matrix that are existing in these shots, but I ended up just like removing because I thought it looked stupid. But yeah, this is me drilling. Check out this epic drill shot. That tape is so I know how deep to go in the hole, by the way, because the LEDs didn't have like little like lips on them, so they needed to be the holes needed to be like relatively close to the same depth. And then I just went through and cleaned all the like sawdust chunks out of the hole so the LEDs would fit, and then spent the next like 45 minutes at least lining up all these LEDs in here with the anodes and cathodes facing the right way. And then finally, like these two at the bottom, the one on the left gets removed in the final one because it just wasn't symmetrical, and I thought it looked silly. But lining up all the anodes and cathodes diagonally was not easy because the holes are round and the LEDs are like slightly larger than the hole, so it'll grip it, but they're not circular. They're more of like an oval, right? So they just wanted to twist. And then after that, I had to do this, which is lay all the pins over, which honestly wasn't really that hard. It was just kind of annoying because this took forever. And then we finally get to break out the soldering iron. And this part's pretty straightforward. I mean, I'm just soldering all the pins together. I had the little schematic pulled up on my phone on the right there. And I mean, you just kind of do it. You kind of do it. But the problem is, after I did this, the matrix didn't work. So it kind of worked. Some of the lights lit up. Some of them lit up too many when I was like, oh, I need you to light up this light, and it would light up like a bunch of them. So I was like, stuff's shorting. So long story short, I did some light finessing of the circuit. I don't really know how I fixed it because I don't really think I did like anything that should have fixed it. But I just kind of messed with it for a while until it started working, and you know what? Now it works. So, but I did have to like take some things off, like this little connection here that I'm doing to like connect the nets together because there's no LEDs in the matrix where there should be. So it's like it's those lines need to be connected. That ended up coming off and got replaced with just like a different one. I think I ended up doing it. I tried to put like diodes where the LEDs go, but that like didn't really fix it. And then it shouldn't have. But I just like had a feeling it might, and then it didn't. So then I got rid of the diodes again, and then it just kind of worked. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to question it. We're rocking with it. But before I did any of that, I had to get this stupid thing out of the wood. It did not want to come out. Like there was just no world where I was going to just pull that out with my hands because, as you recall me saying a second ago, the LEDs were a little bit bigger than the holes that they were in. So when you put a bunch of force on them and make it hot and leave them there for like a second, right? They don't want to come out. So I tried hitting it with a hammer. I put on some gloves and tried to pull on it a little bit. I couldn't loosen it. Finally realized that like maybe pliers were a good choice. So I got some pliers and just kind of started pulling on places until it started coming loose enough for me to just pull it out with my hands. Which, honestly, this might have been how I started shorting things. But, who knows? So, now I gotta make like, I think it was 1.5 foot length pieces of wire to connect the LED matrix to my LED matrix controller board, which then hooked up to a Raspberry Pi Pico, which I also had to cut wires for. So this is me doing that, and then I connected all the wires to the matrix first, and then connected all of the wires that were now connected to the matrix to the LED board, and then found out that the matrix was like not really working, and I was like, well, this is awesome. And then did all the things I just ranted about a second ago. But this is me just like, stripping some wire, cutting some wire, putting that wire on the matrix. This wire is way too thick, by the way. 18 gauge for this is so incredibly overkill, in my opinion. Especially, not just because I'm really not going that big of a distance with it. It was actually like 2 feet lengths of cable, of wire, but also the through holes on the matrix driver board were too small for the wire to fit through, so I had to splice them together anyways. But this is after it's fixed. Look at that. Look at all that matrixing. All that works now. The lights are lighting and it's cool. And there's the controller board and the Pico's back there somewhere. And this has become an unruly mess. It works, but all those wires keep getting tangled. And they really want to coil. For the life of me, I couldn't get them to stop coiling. And I finally had to just like sit there and just pull each one by one straight until it just like locked in. But yeah, here's all the pieces. Now I just gotta assemble the device, right? And at this point I realized I didn't really think about how I was gonna mount the LEDs to the actual glasses. I just had two separate items. I had an LED matrix and glasses. So I figured I didn't want to short it across the aluminum. So because all of those wire ports on the side would be touching the aluminum frame. So I put electrical tape on that and then started hiding all of the like boards and other things in this little cardboard box, which was honestly like the perfect size. It's kind of nice, but yeah, I started doing this, put all the stuff on there, all the little things, got some little wire, and I didn't have the right screws lying around to like lock any of those boards in, so I just like tied one of them down so they didn't short each other. I think I tied the Pico down, yeah. And then tried to figure out how I was going to put the LED matrix on the glasses. And ended up just like, I tied them together with some twist ties and then just started twist tying them onto the frames until they stayed. And then also had to put duct tape on them because they weren't quite staying well enough. And you can see in the middle there, it kind of was sagging and wasn't like a line. It was more of like a bow. And I honestly didn't really fix that all the way, but it's like mostly fixed there. Like it's like pretty good. And now we get to test the device. We're back. It's me. I'm not the voiceover. It's actually me in the flesh. It is the eBurger. But okay. So the glasses are working, if you can't tell. At least for the most part. They're really heavy. They're really heavy. That's what happens when you end up using like an 1/8 inch piece of aluminum instead of like a 16th inch, and also all the electronics, and also my measurements are a little bit off now because I didn't consider that the lights would push the glasses farther away from my face, so now it doesn't really fit on the ears, so I kind of have to hold it. Otherwise, it just falls or hurts. But look at these words. Look at these words scrolling across my face. It's kind of fire. It goes kind of crazy. Also, you can see that it's trying to like keep up with what I'm saying, but that's kind of difficult for a multitude of reasons. But it's mostly the way that Whisper works. But because it's using whisper.cpp, the C++ version, to go to like a Python script that's transcribing it, and then it goes to another thing that outputs it to the Raspberry Pi Pico, which then goes to the LEDs. So like, it's kind of working. It's kind of working. And because it's just like a Raspberry Pi, I can also just kind of display whatever I want on it, and it goes kind of crazy. But you're probably thinking like, oh, this is kind of neat. This is kind of neat. What if it like actually fit on your face? Well, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. A version 2 is probably in order if I'm being like super real. Oh shit. And there's probably a couple things I would change with the version 2, but there's some problems that I don't really know how to fix. Oh god damn it. So there's a few problems like the wiring on the side. Probably it could be thinner wires for a few reasons, but mostly because there's just no reason for it to be that thick, and it gets really in the way. And that's kind of what makes it not sit on my ears properly, because on top of the thing just not really going back far enough anymore, the wires are just like pushing it out from my head, so it can't grip my head really, which is a problem. And also, I mean, the wires just look kind of stupid. It would be cool if they were like coming up the top and like doing something awesome, but they're not. And also, I need the pieces to not weigh this much because it weighs a fuck ton right now. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty baller. It's like pretty sick. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it started working because it really wasn't working for like a long time. And yeah, so there's some ideas I had where I was like, oh, maybe this would be kind of sick for this or kind of sick for this. But there's a couple issues with all of these use cases in that the way the closed captioning works is that it takes the words as you're saying them and outputs them not one word at a time, because it has to use context of the words around it to decide what word you're saying in the sentence. So which is why there's a bit of a delay between what I'm saying and what's showing up on my face. Because if I'm talking fast, like I kind of am right now, it's not going to output individual words or phrases. It's going to output like the whole sentence, and then the screen's going to start displaying it. So there's not really a great way to fix that without using just an entirely different like closed captioning auto thingamabob. And But that makes it kind of not super useful for like some of the stuff that I was going to use, because somebody was like, "Oh, what if you like use this on like stage?" And it was like you gave it to the vocalist and they were singing, and it just like put the words in their face. So that'd be cool, but you kind of have to program it, because if you don't program it, it does not keep up well at all. I guess I could show you that. The only girl I've ever loved was born with roses in her eyes. So it kind of worked. It kind of worked. But it also, you might be thinking, oh, well, maybe it works if you're like rapping. Maybe that works because it's like words and there's pauses. It really doesn't work either. So like, let's see, what do we got? Baby, no money, got money, I'm a paradox, 3 scoop, creatine, steam room, equinox. It also doesn't quite get the words right, but... Oh, see? I mean, it got it that time. So it also... A nice part about the way the thing works is it also refreshes the words, but the problem is that I couldn't come up with a great way to filter them out if it refreshed it at the beginning of the next sentence like it just did, where it said equal knox and then said equinox at the beginning of the next sentence. But... You know, I think overall this actually kind of worked, and I'm kind of surprised it even worked like at all, if I'm being like super real. But yeah, that I mean, this is kind of the thing. This is kind of it. But there's one more little itty bitty thing, one more silly idea I got. This requires me to get up though. I'm getting up now. You're wrong. Just the other day, I don't like the way that you follow me. Cascade down into the ring. The tired exhaustion will be what sings. It all just turns and spins around now. Why won't you stop and leave me alone? It all just sets off the implosion. Oh, where do I turn to subvert the sound? You blast through the sonic maze. I don't like the way that you pierce the haze. Crack down right into the earth. The flashes and blurs will be what burns. It all just turns and spins around now. Why can't you stop and leave me alone? It all just sets off the implosion. Where do I turn to subvert the sound? I don't like the way that you follow, make you wrong, breaking the silence now. I don't like the way that you make me bow. It all just turns and spins around now. Why won't you stop and leave me alone? It all just sets off the explosion. Oh, where do I turn to subvert the sound?